have a special show on. I have a band that I'm kind of new to hearing. TimeChild is the band today. I've come across your music recently, and I've been really digging them. And I tracked you guys down, and I want to thank you guys for being on. Guys, welcome to the show. If maybe each of you guys can kind of say hello and introduce yourself, be great.
We're happy to be here. My name is yeah, happy to be here. My name is Martin. I play the drums.
My name is Berg and I play guitar.
My name is Daniel and I play bass.
And I'm Anders and I'm a lead singer and guitar player.
Well, welcome, guys. You guys sound fantastic. And as I was saying earlier before you were on, we're talking about how new of a band you guys are together. Clearly, you guys are seasoned musicians, but this band together has only been, I guess, we got 3 years now. You guys already have 2 albums out. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Is
Not
it
that long?
No, it's not at all. And the album sound, you guys sound like you've been playing together for 15, 20 years, just, really hammering it out. Is it because you guys have been kind of slugging it out in other bands and this kind of, how'd this happen? You guys got together?
Yeah, kind of what you said. We've been playing in a lot of different bands, and during COVID, we Birk and I, we got together and we just left our old bands at that time, both of us. So we talked about should we do a new band, and at that time, of course, we couldn't play live because everything was closed down. So we kind of had a little bit of peace to sit down and just write the music, and we told ourselves that okay, we're gonna need a deadline. So I think we met up in January of 2020, and we said we're just gonna book a studio in May and see what happens. So we needed to find 2 other band members and write some songs. So that was kind of a way to push ourselves a little bit, and then we recorded the first album. Then we got going. So that was kind of cool.
It's amazing how quick it was.
We all been playing alongside.
The energy of you guys sound like well together. It's like, have you guys at any other point, have you guys played together separately at any other point, or is this kind of the first time you guys have all been a band? Like, as an artist,
it's the first time we all been. It's the first time we all been in a band together, but we kind of met each other.
Yeah.
Various we knew each other, and then I feel like we just hit it off, very very quickly, and then we just been playing a lot. Like that's what I really missed. Because I was also looking for a band at the time, and then I just really wanted to find like some real rockers who really wanted to play and practice and play together, and we did that, and I think that's how we kind of found a sound.
Is this a sound? And I don't know. So excuse me, because you guys are even a newer band to me, your history. So we're all learning together, me and the audience. Was the music similar to each of you guys, or did you guys each come in together? I think sometimes I've learned from interviewing hundreds of bands now is like a lot of artists, like when the right chemistry hits, doesn't matter how many bands they were in for all those years, when that right sequence hits, it happens in a short period of time, and it just sounds like this. Like it sounds like each of you brought a certain sound, and it wasn't being represented enough in your prior bands until it got the perfect storm, the chemistry. Is that kind of true with you guys, where you each had a sound that you kind of dug, but it wasn't fully being fulfilled, and this kind of is amplifying it, or is it just the way that the process went for you guys sound wise?
Yeah, I think so. We played pretty different music before, and still in other bands. So we come from everything from black metal to death metal to more kind of party rock and classic rock and old school heavy stuff. And so of course we landed more in the heavy proggy doomy thing. So we're not black metal or death metal. So of course we pull more on some of our old references than others, but definitely I think we benefit from all having those different backgrounds.
Influence.
Definitely.
Who was doing death metal? Who was doing black metal? Just out of curious.
Yeah, that was me.
It's always the drummer, right? It's always the drummer.
Always.
Gotta be.
Yeah, I was playing with Myrkur, if you know her, the Danish singer, and then Ausky, which is a Danish black metal band. And then yeah, I have my own band, but I was so happy when I heard like what Birk and Anders had been making, like that sound, because I had always been looking for somebody who loved an organic sound, and I felt like in a lot of the metal productions, that hadn't been allowed. Kind of, it was very hard, and the sound could be a bit mechanic. So for me, it was just wonderful to be part of like their cool, like play with their riffs and Anas's voice, and yeah.
What was really cool, I think, and as I've gotten older, I've learned is when we were younger, you hear heavy. You used to think heavy was like either fast or do certain types of things, but heavy can be super slow, as we've learned over the past 15 years. And just heavy as a sound, is a feeling in a song. It's not about literally being heavy. You know what I mean? A pounding sound. And you guys do have a very earthy sound, and obviously the name of the band, is that a reference? Kind of, I was going to say that towards Deep Purple, because you guys have that 70s rock feel, but it's kind of heavier, Sabbathy, but it's very melodic. You don't sound like either of the bands either by any means, so I don't want people to think that. But it feels like it definitely could have been cut from that same cloth, which I mean is a compliment. Like, was there a concern about kind of
Definitely, I
feeling like
think
you're going to be
that's
compared, or is that just how it is?
yeah, yeah. But I think it's an honor to be compared to those bands, really.
As do I,
But
but
then
I
again,
never
of
know. Some
course,
artists don't like that. They're like, well, we're our own person.
no,
I'm like,
no,
well,
yeah.
you
But
kind of
I
named
know,
after a song.
yeah, exactly. But I know what you mean, and I also agree in some way because it can be a bit limiting, or maybe.
While you're on freeze, I do think you're right, and I think it's hard to find a balance. And what I love about a band like yours and what turned me on, it wasn't like just like a band that sounds like a certain band, which is fine. I believe there's room for everybody, but a kind of band I'm going to listen to consistently and put in my iTunes list or my Spotify or whatever it's going to be. It's going to be a band that has its own sound, and this feels like this is a band that could have stood in the same time period. And I guess it's really weird to say that because I don't really feel like it's a dated sound either. It's really interesting how you kind of fell upon a sound where it's a nod to things, but it's not really dated either. And it's got to be natural because no one can
No,
conceive to do all these things, to have a feeling of this, but not be dated and have this perfect sound. You know what I mean? It's kind of luck.
And remember some of the conversation where that we want something that sounded cool. That's always the most important thing. And for me personally, my taste is always in very descriptive titles. I love that for the band name, but it's a personal preference. But at the same time, you want to have something that's a little. We wanted something that could be so that it doesn't sound only like a 70s band, but we wanted something that is not misrepresenting. So when you hear it or when you see it, then you kind of get the vibe of what you're getting, but at the same time, you yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it does. I think it's hard though because sometimes you don't have you can only do as much as you can, like with a song you guys can write, but once it's out there, people are going to interpret it totally different. And you're like, that's totally not what I meant. Like with a book, you read a book, and you'll put a whole movie in your head, and then you go see the movie, you're like, that's not what I read. You know what I mean? It's like, so you guys can own that. I think the graphics are really cool with that, by the way. I like the background. I like the way you guys, the way the titles, the band name, and the artwork and stuff. I really dig that. I'm a big fan of that. Which is a dying art also because most people aren't into that. I mean, unless you're, I think in rock is good because we still have vinyl and collectibles and stuff. So the art is still involved more. It's not just about a thumbnail of a font, you know.
Well, at least yes, it's still a very important part. The whole because you can argue how important it is, but to us at least, it is very important that when you see us coming out with a new album, you have a very awesome representation of the band in band photos wise, and also even though maybe you can argue again that not many people watch music videos, we still want to make a really kick-ass awesome music video that represent us, and so people again, they can have something visual to look at, and that transfers over to the vinyl thing again, because a lovely piece of, for fans in maybe in 10 years will still look back and think, okay, that's the period where this was the band. And I believe still that's very important, because maybe it's not the same big thing as it was back in the day, but still it's a lot of those things combined with very good songwriting and hopefully and lyrics, and that gives a whole picture of a very awesome band in general. So I still think
agree.
those things are very...
No, I agree with you. I think to me, I mean, it's like I like having a band with a good image, a good look, a good sound. I mean, the music's always the most important to me, and anything else wouldn't turn off me for liking a band. But man, it's a bonus if it has a cool graphics and the album artwork and the lyrics. It's like it's a whole adventure. It's like you're really committing yourself to something as a fan to listen to it. I enjoy that, even more so. I still enjoy videos, and a good look and a good sound for a band. I think it carries over. I think it holds well in the rock world still. Not many other places nowadays, but still in rock and roll it does.
Yeah, sure. And if you talk about the artwork, so it's a strong visual artwork we have for this album, and you never know what's gonna happen in music, and vinyls become more and more popular. So it would really suck to have a bad album cover if you kind of
some sort of compromise.
If vinyl would be the next new thing, of course it won't. But you know what I mean. Vinyls have been more and more popular, and therefore when you buy vinyls now, you buy some of the previous album an artist made, and that will suck if that album cover was.
Well, and actually, vinyl is actually. I'm sorry, people. Just so you guys, everyone listening, realizes we have a lag, so we're not talking over each other. We're not the rudest people you've ever met. We're just having a time delay on each other. There is, I think, vinyl outsold CDs and stuff. Like vinyl, I think was the biggest selling physical product the past year. So it's back. Yes. I wish it was cheaper because I've been doing vinyl before it was popular, and I was digging having a low price buy for all my vinyl, and now it's even more money now for me. But but that being there, a lot of
it's important for us to kind of have a nice. Well, and we got Travis Smith to do the cover, and he's done a lot, and he did for Opeth and a lot of things, and we really wanted somebody who could capture the lyrical themes and the vibe. So yeah, I think he did that very well.
Very well indeed.
What do you say, Hannes?
I love it. Yeah, definitely. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you good. You sound good. It is great, and I think it's important to see because some bands have either a friend. It's great because it's like in a band family we have either a friend that's an artist or an artist becomes part of the band, and we name a million bands that have look at that. Look, Iron Maiden is easy. I love Opeth. The work for Opeth is awesome. It matches the band. It's tied together at this point now. It's the imagery, which then goes hand in hand with the lyrics and the concepts. Are you guys? When you're writing your lyrics, do you feel like you're concept driven, or do you feel like each song is its own separate piece, or do you feel like you kind of have to follow a flow?
I think it's somewhere in between, I would say. Of course, we try to create some sort of a red thread through everything, something that kind of combines all the songs, but it's definitely one song at a time, I would say, and it usually turns out to be within the same themes, but it's not like a concept album, except some of the songs we have 3 songs in a row that's kind of a medley, or what you call it, songs in different parts, and of course they have some of the same theme or the same things that we sing about, but then again, I think it's interesting because I normally do the base of the lyrics. I do most of the lyrics, but sometimes when we talk about the lyrics afterwards, people hear different things in the songs, and that's interesting as well because we actually found out that some of the songs we did now actually fitted some of our lives very well, and it wasn't my own life, but some of the other band members' lives. So that's interesting how a lyric people can relate to it in different ways, and that's why I don't like explaining my lyrics too much, because I like putting my own thought into it, and people should put their own thoughts into it as well. And I like doing that with other bands. When they tell me that this song is about that, then sometimes it kind of ruins the meaning for me because I didn't see that. I heard something different. And sometimes when people tell me what what they think the lyrics are about, I kind of say, okay, yeah, that wasn't my first intention, but when you say it like that, that's maybe something that was in my head as well. Maybe without me knowing it really, but definitely something that when I hear it afterwards, I can see that it could be something that maybe I had laying somewhere deep within.
Well, I think we had broken up at one point. I was saying to the guys earlier, there's the guys we were talking. I said, and I think it's like once you put it out there, as we have the band name, but like once you put it out there, people interpret it like a movie. Like when you read a book and then you see the movie, it's not always the same as the book. Sometimes it's better to read the book for the movie because then it becomes something different to you. I think that's great with the lyrics. And I think part of the question, like with the music, with the lyrics, is like some bands will come in and they'll be like, they're great songs, and they're like, nope, this is not a Time Child. This is a solo or another band song. Like they know what songs belong in that band. So that's what I'm kind of asking you guys is like, do you guys have songs like you're ready? Like, no, this is Time Child. And you're like, no, this wouldn't be Time Child. This goes off somewhere else. You know what I mean? Is it that, or do you like, we just put it all out there and we just kind of evolve to everything? We don't have a limit on what the song is.
I think I can safely say that when we started this band, or the main founders was Birk and Anders, there were some pretty set lines, not restrictions of any kind, but kind of dogmas. So kind of was it the Orson Welles? The quote is that the creativity, it always needs some kind of limitations, just because otherwise it goes in all directions. I can't remember the quote, but it's a very good idea that, you know, when Birk and Anders, they made it pretty clear that these were the kind of tonalities we wanted. These are the kind of vibes, and so it's been pretty good because it makes it very clear when you sit down at home and write stuff. Then you know what you can bring to the band that they would appreciate and think this we can work with. So it makes it all a lot easier. And again, a lot of the experience we have from our former bands, I think that's one of the key parts of this band, was that we wanted things to be very specific, again, not limiting, but very clean cut, and people know when they open up to our band, then they know what they're getting. But again, there are surprises, as there should be, but they have a pretty good idea that this is Time Child.
I think you guys have a lot of good sounds. I think with the sound of you guys and your instruments and your voice and the sounds and the tones and everything, just a lot you can do. It doesn't sound like, I mean, outside it becomes some like, you know, drum machine dance band, like some kind of trap band or house band or something type of music where, you know, total left turn. I think you guys have a lot of space for songwriting for different songs to do though, because you do have such an earthy sound where you can kind of do a lot. So I don't think you're totally confined. And you know, the best thing about it is you guys, you know,
not supposed to sound like we have limitations and that sort. Right. It's just, you know, we have something we're going after that's pretty. This is where we want to go. But we're very open to experimentation, and especially when we're in the studio, you know, our producer is, I have a pretty strong feeling that he's very excited to work with us in that regard, because we're very open to funny production details and open up to experimentation sonically. So,
where are we at? Where are we at now?
Yeah.
With
I just wanted to say that, as you can tell, with that's the delay. As you said, the first 3 singles that we released are pretty different. So it's not like we have like just what we have to do the songs. The first single, the light, is pretty froggy, and the next one is way slower and more melodic, and the last one we have is more doomy and very heavy. So so it's definitely not we just do one kind of song. It's just more like the sound of the band should be recognizable. Well, I think that's what we're trying to do.
No, I think it's good. I think you can change into also as a band. I mean, like, well, Opeth is actually a good thing. I mean, Opeth was a lot heavier, and then they've changed sound over years, and it's felt very natural. I mean, so it is a thing a band can do also if they feel they just want to change. But you guys have a sound. I feel like you guys do. You guys can go a lot more different places without being trapped and grow as songwriters. And you're right, those 3 singles, we're actually going to say those were the perfect examples of different types of music you guys do. And I think the point of this is I want people to listening that haven't heard you to get an idea of what kind of band you are and you know, the concept of you guys. As new fans coming in, where can they see you? Are we doing like, we're going to refer them afterwards to the webpage because there's the links to all the videos and iTunes and stuff, and check out the music. Live music coming up, gigs, streaming, more videos. Like, what's the plans for people to check you guys out?
We have one more single coming out before the album, and that's gonna be a big one, a long one, a very journey, a musical journey. I would say that song kind of tells everything about the album, so that's interesting.
Okay.
But that's only like 1 week before the release date, and then of course we're going to play live. Sadly, not in the US yet, but we definitely want to go sometime. But for now, it's gonna be some Swedish gigs and a Scandinavian, not just a Danish tour, and then hopefully a European tour in the fall or early next year, and then we'll take it from there. So we're definitely going out on the road soon.
How is touring over there at this point after COVID? Is it opening up finally for you guys? Like, because I mean, you guys had COVID, and then you also had Brexit, which kind of made things crazy too for everybody.
Yeah,
I know that's like a dirty word. It's like a
Brexit
swear word now, right? Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Brexit made it difficult to go to the UK. Definitely, they made life difficult for themselves because now it's not that easy going over there. There's a lot of ridiculous border controls and tolls you have to pay and everything. So that's a shame because, of course,
Yeah,
the majority of the music that founded heavy metal is from the UK and from the country area, Black Sabbath and Uriah, Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple,
yeah.
of course, and all those bands that kind of inspired a lot of our music. So that's a shame because we know that we're going to have a crowd over there who would enjoy our music. But Germany, Sweden they're very close to Denmark and they're good countries to play in. So we're definitely trying to focus on those areas.
Germany,
as
yeah,
well.
Germany
But
loves the metal
as well, but it's just not.
I know, and I remember
Definitely.
when it was happening and talking to certain artists. I mean, I remember, you know, even Glenn Murdoch, formerly of the Sex Pistols and stuff, and all this great solo stuff, and he was talking about how frustrated it was and how they were trying to get a music alliance together because they were trying to fight. I think that people made a decision without me getting political because I don't really know the whole thing. It felt like it was non-artistic, non-music people making these decisions that affected on a bigger scale, and it kind of affected the finances of all these artists coming in and out of the country. It kind of feels like you're hurting yourself just as much as hurting the outsiders coming in, like each way, going in and out. And it's really a shame, you know. It's almost as easy to come to the US
Definitely.
now.
It is. It's the same. Yeah, it is. So that's a shame. But we have a lot of countries to play in Europe. So we'll try to focus a lot on that because of course Denmark is a small country. It's going well for us here, but there are limits for the kind of music that we play in Denmark. So we definitely want to focus on going abroad as much as we can. And of course, in the end, we would love to go to the US or Japan or something, but that's kind of, I think it's a little bit further out in the future. Unless somebody want to invite us, then we're definitely going. But we're going to focus a lot on Europe the next year or something like that.
I think something the best thing like for a band like you is to get some of the package. It's like a package tour with like 2 or 3 other bands, and they do pretty well over here. I've seen a couple of them come over here from Europe, and they've been crushing it. Like I've heard some of these guys talk about their sales have been phenomenal. Like it's worked out, and I didn't think it was going to be that good for a lot of bands right now, surprisingly. So I guess
which band? Do you have any particular? You remember?
I'd have to go back and look. Off the air, I'll have to go back and look. I can email you guys after. I think it was a couple thrash faster bands. It's escaped me now on the spot. I'd have to go back and look. But it was some of the metal. It was done by a metal label, and it was a lot of the bands on the label, and it was some of the heavier thrashier bands, a package tour, and it feels like It feels like, and for me, from just being in America and seeing the bands come over, we've had a lot of package shows come in, and it seems like those shows have a lot of people going to them because it's offering 3 or 4 different bands, and it feels like the economy of it's working well for both sides. You know, and to me, from the outside,
Yeah, cool.
You know, or it feels like it'd be great, like you guys would be good, and then be like a different type of like a heavier thrash band, and like have a couple different types of styles of music all come in, so it's got something for everybody type of deal, kind of like the European festivals where you have something for everybody. You know, I think that's the
Definitely, and
future of music.
that's what we're
Touring,
trying to do.
you know,
I agree.
I think you
I
guys
agree.
would do well
That's
over
the way
here.
to go. Definitely.
You know, everybody's kind of just throws
We
it
would love to.
together and plays. You know, and it was hard. I think, and one of the big battles here now for most artists is, if you pay attention, it's going to be the venues taxing an artist. You know, they'll go in and they'll get pay regular taxes. Then the venue will be taking like 30% of a hit out of their merch, which is crazy. So say you guys come, you get tax coming into the country. You'll get taxed in the venue, and then you probably get like leaving the country tax on top of it. Like, it's bananas for a band to sell merch sometimes. And that's why I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell everybody right now that's listening: go to TimeChild, go to their website. The link's below. I always say this: go to the artist's website, buy directly from them. Nobody's cutting money from them. Go right to the artist's website, you know, and go check it out. You know, get the music. When you see them coming by near you, check them out. Don't wait for them to come back, because we've learned from this apocalypse we had a few years ago, music can stop. We really need to appreciate everything. So if these guys are near you, go see them. You just never know. Or they come back a lot. You get to see them a lot, and that's pretty awesome too. So you really just win no matter what, right? This is fantastic. Mm-hmm. What was that?
Amen.
Amen. Right. Well, it is. It's important.
Yeah.
Is there anything you guys want to share to fans or the people out there that are listening about your music, or that maybe you don't usually get a chance to? Because usually in an interview you get a million questions, but like, do you guys have things that are kind of important that don't ever get chatted about with you guys? Aren't recognized or talked about? A little different of a question, really. But I mean, I think some artists.
Very open question. Very open question.
Well, a lot of bands don't I always like to get like I always try not to do like a cookie cutter thing. But of course, you got to ask certain questions. And that's why this is very, very, very casual when we're talking and people listening.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you guys are artists, and one of the things about I feel when I talk to somebody is, why would I have you guys ask and answer the same questions? You guys are creative people. Why would I ask creative people the same questions that they get asked all the time? That is so uncreative. So to that point, I ask you guys, what do you guys think?
Bring up one thing that I'm very happy about with these guys, and that I hope the audience will appreciate. It is the way we've chosen to produce our album, and the fact that we sometimes I feel that sometimes productions you don't feel the musicians, and I feel that that's an important thing. So I hope people will appreciate that with this album, that hopefully you can really feel the performance on the album. And that's just one thing that I've been thinking about, and that I personally love when bands do, and like albums where you go in and it's exploration, or it's adventure you go on with the band.
Do you feel it's a good sound of you guys, though? Do you feel like this is your good sound? It sounds like you guys live, or it's good. Like some bands say it's good, but it's not us live. Like, to me, the production, you're right, is fantastic. I didn't even talk about that of the album. But do you feel it represents you guys, though? The sound? Well,
yeah, I think that was very important to us. That we kind of get as close as possible to what we sound like live. It's not that we have to do the exact same version of the song. If you want to put some big choir arrangements on, or do something funky with an old Moog synthesizer in the studio, we're gonna do it, because it sounds great and it's fun. And I think you can do a great album version and a great live version, but I think the core sound should be the same. And that's why when we go into the studio, we play mostly live. We kind of get everybody, we get into the same room, and we track the songs, and then we kind of build onto that.
Right.
So the base of the songs are live, and that's important to us because it just gives a different feel. You can kind of pull a little
Right.
bit or run a little bit together, and you can kind of get a more alive kind of feel to the songs, and that fits our music, I guess. If you play super tech speedy metal, you kind of have to be as tight as possible, and it wouldn't work. But with our music, it definitely works, and we get that real sound, and that's what we're gonna have. And we kind of play with the same gear in the studio that we do live, so we get very close to that sound.
Well, with plug-in instruments, you have a little bit closer. But while we're talking about the sound, are you happy with your drum sound? I mean, it takes a lot of bands. I mean, I can name a lot of big bands that took a long time before they're happy with their drum sound. They had platinum albums. Do you feel the drum sound is pretty good for you?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll put you on the spot. I mean, think about it. It's a live sound. I mean,
yeah,
we had a lot of live.
We had a lot of fights with our producer, friendly fights. But yeah, exactly. Back and forth, but we worked a lot with the dynamics and more with the band and the song, and I feel you can give a bit more direction. But of course, that takes a bit like the listener has to accept that premise, right? It's gonna sound more like a real drum kit and not computer drums.
It's supposed to sound like a real drum kit. I love loud drum sound. I'm very critical about it. I mean, to me, it makes an album. It makes a band sound bigger. It makes the bass and guitar sound better. Like it drives the band. You know what I mean? It's a band. You guys feed off of it. You know, and it's important to be live because then it feels like if the drum's breathing, it feels like it gives the guitar room to breathe it, and on bass, it feels you guys have a team where the rhythm sections work together because it just feels natural. It doesn't feel like these weird clicky sounds. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
It feels so much better. I don't know because I used to work in a studio, so to me, when I hear an album, I can be like, God, I really like the songs, man, but that drumming kills me. It'll prevent me from listening to an album a lot, just if it's got bad drum production and it sounds so horrible, but it's true. I didn't even think about that. Your album's great because I didn't even think about the drums in a bad way. So,
since we're talking about production things, one of the things I'm very proud of with both albums actually is the choice that it was actually the producer's Soren Anderson's choice, which he conveyed to me, was no distortion on the bass actually, and because I'm following a lot of bass forums and where is it at right now, and the thing for me right now is that pretty much every bass production in metal right now sounds like a very drop-tuned guitar because there's so much distortion on it. And I've always thought that you could kind of get away with having a lot of distortion on, the classic split the track but there is something about the way you hear and observe the things that I really, really love. The really powerful low end we've got on this album. It complements the drums so very well. And I attribute that mainly to the fact that we have no distortion on it because it's also a little rebellious act. I know it's not something that the most care about the bass,
but it's important though. I mean,
it's very powerful that it's
but you lost it. I mean, if you look at, early Black Sabbath, it was just the raw bass. It was just, and it led the song. And I like that sound. And I think that when you start messing around with the frequencies and you get too many pedals and stuff, you're getting the bass and the guitar. And if you have two guitars, to me, it's very important. Everybody has their own frequencies and you can hear everybody. There's a certain point where if I'm hearing a band and you're right, it's just distorted, I'm like, was that just bass or guitar? Like, I want to know the difference. And I think by not going there, there's a definition. You know what I mean? Everybody has their own sound, and it can help a song.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And it's something especially after this album that how much that affects the sound. And I'm very happy with that part specifically about the production.
As we wrap this up, I do want to say, it seems like you guys are cranking out albums. Do you guys have a goal? Is it like every year you have a schedule where you do an album, or is it just like you guys are just like drunk with music? Because we're talking now, we're gonna wrap this up, but it's like you got to play some gigs or whatever. But I mean, it's only a matter of time before you guys are working on the next bunch of songs and doing an album. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, I think we do.
We started working on new songs actually. I think personally, I always get inspired when we have done an album. It's just like, okay, that's where we at now, but we can go away. In this case, I think the next couple of songs and what we learned about this second album is we can be even more progressive if we want to. So right now, I personally write some progressive stuff, and let's see whatever happens with that. But I always get very inspired when we have done a full album, because nothing is perfect, but you want to pursue the perfection.
Well, I think you should. I think if you look at it, sometimes bands just like, they just run on music. If you guys are creative and you guys are just creating music, you just keep writing it and record it, and even if it's save it, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you hit points in your life where someone's not creative or something's happening. The world always changes. If you guys are all firing on all four cylinders, bank that stuff, make that creative music. You know what I mean? Because while it's flowing, you gotta tap it. You know?
Definitely, and also just to keep everything rolling, because it's important today. There's so much music coming out all the time. So if you take 4 or 5 years between albums,
oh no,
you kind of lose the momentum. It's not like you do big, huge concept albums like Pink Floyd, and you can release once in a while, but you kind of have to keep it going. So and personally, I like pretty short albums. Our albums are not that long. Just like the 70s, we kind of put the best songs that we have. We don't write 30 songs and then pick the 10 best ones. We write the songs that we need, and we put them on the album. It's very rare that we just write a song and don't do anything with it. We kind of make it work. So that's kind of how we like to do it. And we have like these 1.5 years between releases now, and that's great. If we can keep that going, we're gonna do it.
As a fan of music, I like that. And I think the problem is, and say this, like, I think the problem, like with a band like when Guns N' Roses waited so long, I think the pressure is just crushing on the artist, because then each time, how could you create something better than your best album if your album's Appetite, or your whatever the band is? If you hit an album that everybody loves, immediately everyone hits that one album they do. No one can do it differently, because that's what the fans like. That's their time that person that strikes. So it's already unfair. You're already in the negative. So you just got to keep doing albums and kind of chugging through and doing what makes you happy. Otherwise, you fall in a spot where you're like second guessing, how can you do this next big album? You know what I mean? And it's not fair.
Yeah,
it's not creative. It's not creative. It's just copying yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Exactly. So we're just trying not to make albums too good. So we're not going to have that.
We just suck a little bit.
Yeah, well, exactly. Guys, always suck a bit.
Just suck a little bit. That's good. You should put that in your shirt. So you should say Time Child. Just like it should suck a little bit. Tour to 2023. Exactly. Pretty funny. Guys, I want to thank you for coming on. This is great. I want to encourage people to check you guys out. Go to the link and check out in music and see if they can buy the merch and support the band. Thanks, guys. It's been awesome.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And have a good day. Hopefully we'll see you over there sometime.
You know where I am, so I'd love to see you. So.